Welcome to the big, scary Tactical Masters format, where some things change but not in the way that you want them to. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. I want to talk about the impact of Tactical Masters on the format right now. Now you're like, oh, come on, Robbie, does it really matter all that much? Well, just walking around on Dueling Book last night and kind of seeing a lot of things. A lot of people they're sick of tier element format. They're sick of seeing, big old sprite in the format. What I ended up finding was a lot of people were looking at runic cards and actually building runic decks. I ran into, just like scrolling through top rated ladder, 2 to 3 pure runic decks, a couple of runic striker decks, and I also ran into a runic list playing the sprite core. Now, before you're like, well, wait a minute, what is the significance of this? Well, it means people are looking at Mystic Mine and going, I'm kind of sick of everything that's going on here. You always kind of have this when a format like this shifts up. You always see players look at the new stuff and go, ooh, a piece of candy. And what I was finding with a majority of the runic players that were climbing the ladder last night was a lot of them were saying that they were having a lot of fun. Now, I didn't get the chance to see any mirror matches. That would have been hilarious. I did get the chance to talk to Seven Sins, though, and talk about like his experiences playing the deck. He actually, the only reason why he ended up building it was because earlier in the day he played against it on the ladder, ended up losing to it. So what is the saying? If you can't beat them, join them. So he was playing Eldritch against it, and I got told like this story about, like how he just got utterly demolished. He's like, well, crap, like I didn't even know these cards existed. So he went ahead, he took a look at all of them and then built his deck for the rest of the night to climb the ladder just to kind of have fun. And, once again, fun in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very subjective, all right? Like, there will be people that will have fun, doing full combo, laughing at their opponent and, 32 negates on the field. You'll have players that will enjoy playing control, breaking boards. It's very subjective. Hiding behind Mystic Mine while you mill out your opponent's tech, it's a different kind of fun for some people, all right? Yeah, I just want to point out there that, like, fun being subjective is the point of this video. So, new shiny toys, players out here messing around with this, definitely got people excited. Now, of course, watching players on the other side of the table was also an experience here. I've heard some very interesting choice words. A few people were like, this is worse than Sky Striker, and be honest with you, I don't think your Sky Striker deck is really that bad. Now, when you put runic cards in your Striker deck, that's where you get an entirely different creature, ladies and gentlemen. If you're mixing two of the craziest things together, I don't know why I was thinking McDonald's there for a second. If you combine like something that people already didn't like, which is Sky Striker, you take it with these runic cards, which involve milling out. Now, before you're like, okay, Robbie, like, okay, there's ways to counter this. We got Grand Manju. Oh my gosh, like, you've always got the big buff Grand Manju players out here that's like, oh, thanks, little guy, for milling out my deck for me. Slam down this giant beat stick on you. Yeah, you also have people that be like, well, I'll just play Necrophase if this deck becomes an issue, which, I mean, you can. Yeah, normal summoning Necrophase. Trust me. I played against Necrophase before on the Edo Pro ladder with the deck. It's not fun, all right? There will be people that will... Anti-deck isn't going to be like my proper phrasing and word here for it, but it's essentially what it is. If you're playing this deck for fun and, people are trying to snipe you on the ladder, it's going to be just that. Now, if you're taking Runic to locals, I mean, obviously things like Anti-Spell, Lightning Storm, Harpies, Feather Duster, Cosmic Cyclone, all of these back row removal cards that you'll see on a local level. Heck, man, you're going to see Twin Twisters and, like, MSTs on the local level, all right? Like, if you're taking this deck to locals to try to snipe some free wins, you might be able to. But once again, you're probably going to be playing Mystic Mine in this. Now, I did mention Pure, the runic version, or Pure, Sky Striker variant and the Sprite variant. I do think that the Sky Striker variant has been more fun to me, watching Engage go burr to draw these additional resources. But once again, you're playing with an archetype that specifically fuels itself based off of hiding behind Mystic Mine, all right? Like, it's a better win condition than what Mystic Mine essentially brought to the table via the burn strategy, all right? If you want to beat Runic, just don't play cards, but then you're just going to be drawing and passing anyway, so things just get a whole lot worse. Yeah, that was an actual out that somebody presented to me a while back when we were playing. They're like, if you just want to beat Runic, just don't play anything. They can't play their cards. And I'm like, huh? I mean, I guess, like, technically, I become unable to do a lot of the interaction, sure, but, like, buddy, your deck is going to shave off a whole lot quicker at any pace anyway. So very, very interesting takes that we see from players here. Now, I want to talk about Labyrinth. Now, in the same span of things, I've seen a few people picking up Labyrinth on the ladder, and they were messing around with it. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but looking at the results of Runic or Rune versus Labyrinth, one deck is infinitely better than the other right now. Now, with that being said, the problem with Labyrinth is you're a trap deck. Now, you're a trap deck in a format where trap decks are going to struggle. And I don't mean this to, like, sound weird or bad or anything, because, I think Labyrinth is potentially good enough to top a regional. Like, top 32, top 16, it should be good enough in the right player's hands, maybe players not knowing, how to handle the deck. I think you have a decent chance at that window. Now, you're going to have to get your ratios and things very correct, because once again, you're a trap deck. Like, unlike Eldritch that kind of has the formulae written for you. I mean, you look at, like, okay, so we're playing Conks, Huggueros, maybe the optional land Forever, Scarlet Sanguines. You don't get that with this deck, right? You have to manage which of my monster trees I want to play. Do I want to have access? How many Welcome Nightmares or Welcome Labyrinths do I want to have access to? How many field spells do I play? You're in, I would say, a lot harder territory for deck building, because the formula is not super set for that. Now, we've seen the deck. It's done okay in the OCG. It's got a couple locals tops here and there. But in terms of, like, turnover and things, it feels like a different creature here. But don't get as discouraged. I saw a couple players. They were playing it. I didn't see any wins from it, but I think overall that the deck is really fun. Like, if you just want my honest opinion, like, Labyrinth is the fun go-to deck. Now, if you're looking at Valiance here and you're hoping for me to, like, oh, Robbie saved the best for last, I got nothing for you on the Pendulum deck, man. Like, as much as I would love to be like, oh, there's some cool interaction. I mean, there was a cool thing that you could do with the Pendulum Sorcerer with the field spell to move it out of the extra monster zone to pop off to get some searching. That was kind of cool. But everything else the Pendulums do, just kind of, they do it better with other things. We're still down in Electromite right now. So if you were hoping for something with the new Pendulum archetype, maybe Triff has something in the works, but right now I don't have anything with that. So overall metagame reflection, well, the pack did affect Dueling Book, and I think that's kind of hilarious that, like, a localized or a online community like this gets straight taken over with this, just because, one, players are bored, two, players want to start messing around with things. And, you always have the thing that, like, players will take a look at the next Toxic deck and they'll be like, oh, I want to play this. Like, looking at Runic and playing it, your mindset changes because you don't care about your opponent's life points. Your opponent's life points are their deck size. So if you're playing this, you kind of got to keep a reference point via the opponent's deck. How many cards in deck? 35. If a Tier Elements player does like a mill 8, well, congratulations, they milled down to the 20 range. You get a lot more of these questions, and you just kind of got to be careful of, micromanaging resources to do your thing based on, whichever build you're doing. So that's the important thing. Resource management, making sure you know what you're doing if you're trying to play the deck, and how to play around counters. And by playing around counters, I mean you better have Solemn Judgment, or else it's going to be game over for you, because Harpy's Feathers or Lightning Storm, Anti-Scam Fragrance. You know, there's so many cards right now, and you want to take the challenge to be the Runic Master. Oh man, I'll leave that device to you. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I will see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.